The 10 scariest ways to die. These methods are not only gruesome, but also highlight the incredible resilience and vulnerability of the human body. Let's dive into this chilling countdown, but viewer discretion is strongly advised. Number 1. Burning alive. Imagine the acute, all-consuming pain as every nerve ending is engulfed by flames. Burning alive is one of the most intensely painful ways to die due to the immediate and direct damage it inflicts on the skin, nerves, and internal organs. The skin, the largest organ of the body, is also the boundary that protects us from the external environment. When it burns, the damage triggers a catastrophic cascade of pain signals and inflammatory responses throughout the body. As the flames lick the skin, they char and consume it, each layer crackling and popping as it burns. The pain is unimaginable, not just from the burn itself, but from the body's panicked response to it. Your nerve endings, overloaded, send signals of pain back to your brain at a rate that's hard to comprehend. The heat dehydrates and contracts tissues, deepening the burns and increasing the agony. Beyond the immediate physical torture of burning, the psychological impact is profound. Victims often experience a heightened state of alertness that paradoxically makes them acutely aware of their pain. The air around becomes superheated, scorching the respiratory tract as the victim breathes in, leading to severe respiratory distress, which compounds the body's panic response. If the victim does not succumb quickly to the trauma, the prolonged exposure to high heat can lead to a critical rise in body temperature, causing vital proteins and cellular structures to detonate and cease functioning, effectively shutting down bodily systems. As horrifying as the physical pain is to the isolation of the experience, surrounded by fire, the victim is often alone in their final moments, with rescue impossible and escape unlikely. This solitude, paired with primal fear of fire, creates a terrifying final experience, marked by an overwhelming sense of helplessness and impending doom. Number 2. Drowning. A deceptively peaceful term for a desperate and terrifying end. It begins innocuously enough. Perhaps a swimmer overestimates their strength, or a sudden fall into deep water. From the moment water envelops the airway, the countdown begins. As panic sets in, the body's instinctive drowning response kicks in. Arms flail at the surface, desperately clawing for air, not waves. The victim's mouth alternates between gaping above water for air and submerging below, allowing water to fill in the lungs. This struggle can be eerily silent, unlike the dramatic splashing often depicted in movies. Oxygen is crucial for brain function, and as it fails to reach the brain, vital systems begin to shut down. Within as little as 90 seconds, the person can lose consciousness, a dire predicament if help doesn't arrive immediately. Even if rescued, the lack of oxygen, hypoxia, can cause permanent brain damage, impacting basic functions and quality of life. The psychological terror of feeling your lungs fill with water, the burning need for air as your chest heaves against the liquid pressure, is unimaginable. The body's urge to breathe is overpowering, and eventually, water will be inhaled into the lungs, leading to what is known as wet drowning. In some tragic instances, the vocal cords spasm and close, trapping air and water out in a process called dry drowning. Recovery can vary, with some survivors experiencing lasting effects like lung damage or brain injury due to oxygen deprivation. However, not all are fortunate enough to survive. Drowning remains a leading cause of accidental death worldwide, a silent disaster that claims lives quietly and quickly. Understanding the signs of drowning and how swiftly it can claim a life underscores the importance of water safety and constant vigilance near bodies of water. At number 3 in today's exploration of scariest ways to die, we delve into one of history's most infamous and brutal methods of execution, crucifixion, a punishment reserved for the most serious of offenses in ancient civilizations. Notably, within the Roman Empire, crucifixion was not just a death sentence, but a public statement of disgrace. Crucifixion is a method of painful execution where a person is nailed or bound to a large wooden beam and left to hang, sometimes for several days. The primary cause of death is typically asphyxiation, a slow and agonizing process. As the body weakens, the victim struggles to pull themselves up to breathe while suspended by their arms. This act puts immense strain on the muscles and the entire cardiovascular system, leading to severe fatigue, muscle cramps, and eventually heart failure. Historical context. The horror of crucifixion didn't lie in the physical pain, which was unimaginable, but also in the psychological torment. It was designed to be a slow, humiliating death with victims left exposed in public places, often at crossroads or on hills, serving as a grim warning to others. The Romans, who mastered this cruel method, reserved it for slaves, pirates, and enemies of the state, reflecting not only a punishment, but a complete stripping away of the victim's dignity and humanity. Medically, the process of crucifixion causes a horrifying array of physical torments, dehydration, blood loss, and shock. The nails driven through the most sensitive nerve centers in the wrists and feet trigger excrucial pain. As the body hangs suspended by the arms, the chest cavity is expanded, making breathing more difficult and painful with each passing moment. Beyond its physical brutality, crucifixion holds deep religious significance for Christians. It is the method by which Jesus Christ was said to have been put to death, making it a central symbol of suffering and redemption in Christian theology. This adds a profound layer of meaning to the method, transcending its historical use as a simple form of execution. The sheer agony and prolonged suffering of crucifixion make it one of the most dreadful forms of death imaginable. It was a death designed not just to kill, but to torment and degrade, making it a dark chapter in the annals of human punitive practices. Number 4. Being buried alive. The fear of being buried alive, known as taphophobia, tapped into our deepest fears of confinement and helplessness. Historically, this phobia has roots in the epidemics and plagues that swept through Europe, where hastily buried individuals sometimes awoke in coffins under the earth. Imagine the earth closing in. The complete darkness, muffled sounds, and the stark absence of any escape route is the stuff of nightmares. The horror intensifies with the physical sensations, the limited air supply thickening, breaths becoming more frantic, and the oppressive silence, save for one's own heartbeat. Psychologically, the body's responses to extreme stress and the dire lack of oxygen would lead to hyperventilation, increased heart rate, and ultimately unconsciousness. The psychological torment of knowing one's fate and visceral struggle for survival only compounds the terror. In literature and the media, this fear is often portrayed with a chilling precision, reflecting the primal terror that resonates deeply within our collective psyche. From Edgar Allan Poe's The Premature Burial to more modern depictions in films and television, the concept of being buried alive has been used to evoke some of the most profound human fears: darkness, isolation, and the unrelenting claustrophobia of an earthen tomb. Such scenarios highlight not only the terror of the act itself, but also the cultural and historical anxieties surrounding death and the rituals of burial. The fear that such a fate would erroneously befall someone has led to the creation of safety coffins equipped with bells and breathing tubes during the 18th and 19th centuries, allowing the deceased a chance to alert those above ground in case of premature burial. Number 5. Impalementation. A method of execution made infamous by Vlad the Impaler in the 15th century, stands as one of the most horrifying forms of capital punishment in history. This brutal technique was not only a death sentence, but also a stark message of terror to enemies and subjects alike. The process involved forcing the victim onto a sharp and often lubricated stake, which was then raised upright to display the victim's torment to the public. The true horror of impalement lies in its slow nature. Victims would also remain alive for hours or even days, suffering excruciating pain as the stake erupted internal organs and caused massive internal bleeding. The stake, carefully positioned to avoid immediate fatal injuries, would pass through the body, ensuring that the victim's weight slowly drove them further down. Historically, impalement was not just about administering death, it was about showcasing power and instilling fear. The stakes would be arranged in prominent locations as a gruesome warning against defiance. The psychological impact on the populace was profound, as the sight of a slowly dying person on a stake epitomized the ultimate punishment for disobedience and betrayal. The physical mechanics of impalement were horrific. The stake would be inserted through the body, avoiding the heart and major arteries, to prolong the suffering. As gravity pulled the victim downward, the stake would cause further internal injuries, leading to a prolonged and agonizing death. The method was deliberately chosen for its visibility and the prolonged nature of the death, serving as a deterrent through sheer terror. In the context of medieval punishments, impalement represents one of the darkest reflections of human cruelty and a stark example of how pain and fear were used as tools of governance and control. Its use by figures like Vlad the Impaler has left an indelible mark on historical narratives, painting a picture of a time where justice was merciless and punishment was a public spectacle. Number 6. Radiation sickness. Radiation sickness, known as acute radiation syndrome, ARS, is a terrifying and invisible killer, striking those exposed to high levels of radiation almost without warning. This condition results from the intense exposure to ionizing radiation, which is the kind of radiation that can detach electrons from atoms and molecules, thereby damaging the cells in your body at the molecular level. The initial symptoms might seem innocuous or similar to other illnesses, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, often followed by a brief period where the victim may feel falsely better. However, within hours to days, the situation escalates as the radiation disrupts cellular DNA, leading to the breakdown of internal systems. The gastrointestinal tract and bone marrow suffer first. The lining of the intestines becomes inflamed and sloshed off, leading to severe bleeding and risk of infection, as the body's ability to fight germs is compromised. In bone marrow, the production of new blood cells is halted, a critical blow to the body's defenses and its ability to carry oxygen. As the condition progresses, victims suffer from a range of devastating symptoms, including severe burns and blisters, persistent and excruciating pain, hair loss, and skin peeling. If the exposure is high enough, neurological damage ensues, and the person may experience severe cognitive dysfunction, ataxia, and seizures. The final stages of radiation sickness are grim, as multiple organ failure sets in due to the destruction of gut and bone marrow cells. Even the best medical treatment, which might involve bone marrow transplants, blood transfusions, and antibiotics, the prognosis is often poor if the dose of radiation was high. Victims of severe radiation poisoning might survive for several weeks, suffering all the while, before succumbing to the cumulative damage. Radiation sickness not only highlights the frailty of our biological makeup when confronted with the power of the atom, but also underscores the ongoing risks associated with nuclear energy, medicine, and weaponry. Its legacy is etched deeply in the event of Chernobyl-Fukushima and in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, serving as a somber reminder of the potential consequences when humanity taps into one of the most potent forces it has ever wielded. Decompression sickness, commonly known as the bends, is a condition that strikes deep-sea divers, aviators, and astronauts under specific circumstances that involve rapid changes in pressure. This condition can be both painful and life-threatening, making it one of the most feared risks associated with diving. The signs behind the bends: decompression sickness occurs when a diver descends too quickly from deep water to the surface. At great depths, the pressure causes the body to absorb more nitrogen from the breathing gas in their blood. While this poses no issues at depth, rapid ascent causes the pressure to decrease too quickly, and the nitrogen transforms from being dissolved in the blood to forming bubbles. These bubbles are not benign. They can cause a cascade of psychological disruptions, primarily by blocking blood vessels and tearing apart tissues. This can lead to pain in the muscles and joints, dizziness, fatigue, nausea, and serious neurological symptoms, including paralysis and death if the bubbles affect the brain or spinal cord. Historical context and modern understanding. The phenomenon was first noticed in the 19th century when construction workers who were working on a pressurized underwater structures like bridges and dams experienced mysterious symptoms after resurfacing. However, it wasn't until later that the specific causes and mechanisms were fully understood. With modern diving technologies and practices, the risks of decompression sickness can be managed. Divers now use dive computers that track their depth and time underwater, advising them when and how slowly they should ascend to avoid the bends. Furthermore, divers are taught to perform safety stops as they ascend to allow their bodies more time to acclimatize to the decreasing pressure, facilitating safer nitrogen release. The Byford Dolphin Incident, a cautionary tale. One of the most horrific instances highlighting the dangers of decompression sickness occurred in 1983 by the Byford Dolphin diving bell accident. Due to a rapid pressure reduction, divers suffered explosive decompression, where their bodies were subjected to such rapid depressurization that it led to catastrophic physical trauma. This tragic event served as a grim reminder of the dangers posed by improper decompression and has since been a cornerstone case study in diving safety protocols. Living with the risk. Despite advancements in technology and safety practices, decompensation sickness remains a significant concern. It underscores the need for rigorous adherence to safety protocols in diving and other activities that involve significant changes in atmospheric pressure. Divers are continually educated on the importance of controlled ascents and taking the necessary time to decompress to prevent this dangerous condition. Decompression sickness, while a testament to human endeavor and exploration, remains a stark reminder of our physiological limits and the respect we must give the natural laws governing our bodies under extreme conditions. Number 8. Starvation or thirst. Among the most excruciating ways to die, starvation and dehydration involve a prolonged deterioration that epitomizes the body's fight for survival against inevitable decline. When deprived of food, the body initially uses stored glucose and fats, but soon it begins to consume muscle and vital tissue in a desperate bid for energy. This process leads not only to severe muscle weakness and organ failure, but also in impaired cognitive functions, making the victim increasingly less aware of their surroundings. Dehydration follows a similarly tragic path. The human body can only survive for weeks without food, but water is crucial for maintaining blood circulation and organ function. Dehydration causes the body to thicken, straining the heart and severely compromising the function of vital organs. Symptoms escalate from dry mouth and swollen tongue to delirium, unresponsiveness, and eventually systemic collapse. Visualize the psychological torment accompanying the physical suffering, knowing that water and food could reverse the dire consequences, yet none is available. This scenario is not just a hypothetical for many historical explorers and castaways who found themselves in desolate environments, their fates sealed by the relentless sun above and the barren landscape around. Such deaths are not quick. They stretch out over days, even weeks, magnifying the dread as the body dwindles. It's a testament to human frailty, an end that is as much about the erosion of hope as it is about the physical agony endured. Number 9. Electrocution. Electrocution, one of the most instantaneous and horrifying ways to die, encapsulates a terrifying fusion of science and nature's fury. When an electric current invades the human body, it hijacks the nervous system, the very network that communicates most of our basic functions. This invasion disrupts the electrical signals between the brain and muscles, causing violent muscle spasms that can be strong enough to break bones. The heart, a muscle that relies on electrical impulses to maintain rhythm, is thrown into chaos, often leading to cardiac arrest. Imagine the heart desperately trying to beat normally while an external electric force overwhelms it, creating a deadly tug-of-war that can end in seconds. Internally, the passage of electricity through the body can cook tissues and burn arteries and organs as it follows the path of least resistance. This path often involves vital components like the heart and lungs, leading to catastrophic internal injuries. Survivors of severe shocks sometimes endure a lifetime of deliberating pain and nerve damage, a testament to the body's extensive trauma during the event. The psychological impact on those who witness or survive electrocution is profound. The suddenness and intensity of the event can leave lasting scars on the psyche, mirroring the physical scars borne by survivors. The violent nature of death by electrocution makes it not only a physical excruciating experience, but also an emotionally devastating one. Number 10. Eaten alive. Among the most primal fears is the horror of being consumed by another creature. The fear taps into the most basic of human instincts, survival. The very thought invokes not only the physical pain of such an end, but also a deep visceral terror. The scenarios vary from shark attacks in the ocean's depths to the tragic tales of individuals in the wild facing predatory animals. Each story resonates with a chilling reminder of our vulnerability in the natural world. In historical contexts, accounts of soldiers and explorers encountering predatory wildlife in unfamiliar territories underscores this fear. Literature and folk tales from around the world amplify it with vivid depictions of dragons, giant beasts, and mythical predators. Modern media continues to explore this theme, reflecting on ongoing fascination with fear through films and documentaries detailing shark attacks or animal strikes. But beyond the gore and the shock value lies a profound human fear of losing agency, of being rendered utterly helpless in the face of nature's might. This fear is compounded by the knowledge of what is happening, a cognitive awareness that heightens the terror. It's not just the physical act of being devoured, it's the anticipation, the powerlessness, and the ultimate surrender to a force greater than oneself. Eaten alive, though rare, is a death that encapsulates the ultimate loss of control, a scenario where one is reduced from a thinking, feeling individual to mere sustenance. The agony is not just physical, but intensely psychological, making it as one of the most horrific ways to die. These harrowing ways to die remind us of our own mortality and the importance of safety in everyday life. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell for more content. Stay safe out there, and see you in the next video.